Special prosecutor set to open formal probe into questionable contract awarded to local firm indicted by Auditor General to purchase $34.9 million worth of ambulance spare parts for National Ambulance Service.
How on earth will any minister who loves the country, who values value for money and due diligence, after this audit report, and all of us are giving copies of this audit report?
Anti-corruption campaigners are demanding full disclosure as Auditor General reveal how government awarded the contract to the company that did not exist. Also tonight, calls intensify for the arrest and prosecution of the two suspended persons described as the principal architects of the Ghana-Norwegian imposter Paralympics team visa scandal. We'll get to hear from some of the athletes who say they are disappointed.
It is the right call and in the best interests of our sports.
I believe if that happens, it would just make other people stay away from that.
We'll get to hear from the ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee who says this will have an irreparable damage on the already eroding image of Ghana if the culprits are not made to face the full rigors of the law.
Previously, you were extended courtesies, you are allowed to jump the queue so that, whatever you are going to do, you can, get done with it quickly and return to your parliamentary duties. All of those privileges are gone.
Also tonight. Tonight, NAT Council staged a walkout of meeting with Deputy Education Minister over failed distribution of one teacher, one laptop promise.
I was attacked by my teachers because I'm the one they voted for. The shocking aspect is that the vice president is preaching digitalization. What is digitalization without laptops for teachers?
Wherever the laptops are, we need them immediately to enable us do our work well. Otherwise, we will be doing shabby work in the classroom.
We'll get to hear from the teachers who've given government a one-week ultimatum to begin the supply of these laptops.
In business, first set of policy measures aimed at growing small businesses is expected to be a major focus area in mid-year budget review.
And in sports, the Ministry of Sports rise to the defense of Ghana sports, insisting the visa scandal involving the fake Ghana Paralympic team does not reflect the dedication and integrity of the Ghanaian athlete.
Later, we focus on thirsty communities in our ongoing series. We'll take you to the northern region where women are compelled to bring their own water to the Chips compound when they're going to give birth. A severe water shortage hits Tamale Metropolis and 3 other communities up north.
I had to bring a gallon of water, but it wasn't enough. I had to go to some nearby houses to beg for water to help them take care of me.
You want to stay with us for that and more, or here on Newsnight. Plus your comments, 055-11-11997. Details after this.
Thanks for staying with us here on Newsnight. We'll start off from the issue about the spare parts for these ambulances, up to $34.9 million, a contract which was signed in the dying embers of the exit of the former Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. Well, tonight the Special Prosecutor is set to open a formal probe into that particular contract awarded to a local firm indicted by the Auditor General to purchase $34.9 million worth of ambulance spare parts for the National Ambulance Service. Well, that 2022 Auditor General report had indicted the service, and that's the Ghana Auto Limited, following services they had rendered to the National Ambulance Service, which the Auditor General had raised serious red flags about. The company was awarded a $34.9 million contract. Well, MP for North Tong, Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, has tonight filed that formal petition he talked about this morning to the Special Prosecutor.
How on earth will any minister who loves the country, who values value for money and due diligence, after this audit report, and all of us are giving copies of this audit report, particularly the Ministry of Finance, all ministers are giving copies. The Ministry of Health will have a copy. All MPs were giving copies of this audit report. The audit report is still available online. Why will you...
Is it the performance audit report of the Director General on fleet management of the National Ambulance Service?
Exactly. And you go through. There was even a recommendation that this company pays back money to the state. That is how damning the report is. Now, after all of this, what we expected is that this contract will have been abrogated so that you look for some better company. There are so many auto servicing companies in our country with impeccable track record. Instead of this, as usual, and the same modus operandi. Let's hurriedly call our cronies, let's set up something, and no competitive process. I bet you if it was a competitive tender process, this company would be nowhere near this transaction. But you see, what even makes my tummy, ache, and I'm just sick and depressed, is that when you break it down, $34.9 million is $113,000 per ambulance. I went online, and today you can order fully equipped, brand new Mercedes-Benz, even more modern than what we have, for less. And I've put up in my write-up, I've put up a number of websites that people can go to and check. You can just go. So why are we spending $113,000 on spare parts when we can actually get a brand new, fully equipped ambulance?
And that there is Samuel Kuyuta Blackwell, who has tonight filed a formal complaint with the special prosecutor. We'll get into that pretty shortly, but this is against the backdrop of that Auditor General report in 2022, also about the same company in question. And my colleague joins me in the studio with more on this. James, let's get into that. The National Ambulance Service itself is one entity that was indicted in this Auditor General's report for giving contracts to this particular entity when they were not part of the contract and MOU they assigned with 5 garages already. What did the Auditor General find then?
So the Auditor General found out that from January to August 2022, the ambulance service engaged workshops outside the 5 listed workshops, as you have mentioned, and those 2 workshops are Luxury World Auto Group Limited as well as Service Ghana Auto Group Limited. Those are the 2 they have engaged, and they did not refer the maintenance works to the accredited companies. Now, the procurement of these workshops was not in accordance with PPA regulations, whilst the absence of an MOU with the Luxury as well as Service Ghana Auto meant that the ambulance service and these service providers had not defined obligations on service delivery. Now, in addition, records from the Registrar General's Department reveal that Service Ghana Auto was registered on 24th of April 2020. Therefore, from January to April 2020, when the ambulance service referred maintenance works to Service Ghana Auto, it was not a registered company with the Registrar General's Department. Now, details on Mercedes-Benz Sprinter and all of that have been provided by the Auditor General. Furthermore, Service Ghana Auto was registered to do business in the sale of motor vehicles, motor vehicle parts and accessories, and not maintenance work as the ambulance service have got into that contract with. Thus, they don't have the expertise and skills to do what they have been contracted to do. That's according to the Auditor General. Now, this was evident when the Auditor General visited and inspected the workshop of Service Ghana Auto, which had 1 staff of the ambulance service at the workshop in Accra and 2 staff at the workshop in Kumasi who specialize in air condition or electrical works only. That according to the Auditor General. And so they are saying that that contract is outside the 5 companies that have been signed MOU with earlier, and the services they are rendering is not part of the work they are supposed to be doing.
And the Auditor General goes further to elaborate what the government did to in an attempt to regularize, although monies have been paid to the company when they had not been registered. For example, he says 8 months after doing business with this particular company in question, Service Ghana Auto Ghana Limited, and 5 months after the company was registered, the Ministry of Special Development Initiative, now Special Development Initiative Secretariat, on 10 September 2020, signed an MOU with Service Ghana Auto Group Limited, with the National Ambulance Service being a key witness in that agreement. So there was this period when they were not registered, and yet they were being paid with taxpayers' funds.
Exactly.
The government then regularized that and then gave them an additional contract. Now, if you look at the further issues that the Auditor General raised, it references a breach of the MOU itself. In fact, it says that MOU with Service Ghana Auto Group Limited, quote, did not inure to the benefit of the National Ambulance Service, and says that it quotes a clause 1.3 of the MOU, which was signed with them, stipulates that Service Ghana Auto Group Limited shall provide all necessary labor, professional, supervisory, and personnel required to perform maintenance services at the National Ambulance Service workshops. Proposals made by the company to qualify for the contract to provide services presupposes that the company had the complement of staff at the workshop needed for all works required. But the Auditor General found that they didn't actually have the staff.
Exactly.
And that the staff that were actually servicing the ambulances
were staff of the ambulance service themselves, which Service Ghana Auto engages to work on the ambulances, and then they provide invoice of the work done and charges the ambulance service and take that amount of charges of work done from the ambulance service when the staff are on the payroll of the ambulance service and are being paid by the National Ambulance Service. For instance, when you trace one of the work they have provided, the Auditor General states that the staff worked on the ambulance in Kumasi, sent the invoice to Service Ghana Auto Limited, who now added their own charges to the payment and then sent that back to NAS to pay on behalf of for the work being done.
So according to Auditor General, the entity in question, the Service Ghana Auto Group Limited, they were receiving payment to render the service, and yet the service they were rendering, we're still charging it to the National Ambulance Service. And the National Ambulance Service, they were asked to respond to this, and quote, they agreed to the findings and recommendations for implementation. So they had no objection, that they agreed that indeed this happened. And in Parliament today, we're getting some reactions to this. The MP for Doma East has been speaking to this. He says only $10 million have so far been paid to this company.
It is quite unfortunate to defame someone of amount of money that he has not paid, and then you put out there saying that he has paid that amount, when you know that if you critically analyze the document, that amount of money that you are talking about has not been issued. So why are we going out there making it look as if that the man has paid an amount of money that is extreme? If you calculate all the monies that my brother put out there, it sums up to 120 million, of which the minister approved. Indeed, in his submission, he said he approved 34 million on the 9th of February. The minister approved only 10 million on the 9th of February. This is it to the controller. All that I'm telling my brother is that whatever he's doing in protecting the public purse, in trying to protect the countries, whatever it is, we may be happy, but he should take his time in doing this so that he may not put people in a position that they don't find themselves due to his haste in trying to make some, maybe have a scoop, if I may say, you media guys that you call it. So what I'm trying to tell my brother is that, I think it's honorable to go back, record those documents, apologize to Honorable Ajimamenu and Honorable Kenofrata, knowing very well that, maybe yes, I thought I got the dates right, I got the documentation wrong, I got the dates right, but the documentation were wrong. Probably I'll go back and get it right. I don't think it will hurt him. It's rather will put him and put his credibility, as he has always, placed it at a higher level.
Well, on the subject on the morning show today, Samuel Kutuso Blakwa indeed said that only $10 million had been authorized by Ken Ofori-Atta. The remainder of the $24.9 million is one that is outstanding. In fact, had said that once the special prosecutor had investigated it, we can save this country $24.9 million. So he did not say on the morning show today that all $34.9 million had been paid. In fact, he joins us right now on the telephone line. Mr. Kutuso Blakwa, let's start with your petition to the OSP. Have you filed it?
Yes, I can confirm that the petition has been filed at 4 p.m. today. I was at the office of the special prosecutor, armed with all the documents on this really scandalous transaction.
The OSP acknowledged receipt and give you any assurances what might happen next?
Yes, the documents have been received, and I will be submitting some more documents which have now come in my possession tomorrow morning. The OSP indicates that they will assess the petition and they will be writing formally to me. That is if they have a prima facie basis to open investigation. So I'm waiting for the letter from the OSP, which I will share with you and the Ghanaian public.
What's your expectation here? What do you want out of this?
We have an opportunity to stop this hemorrhage. $24.9 million will be paid in the next few days if we don't rise up and act. This is an unconscionable transaction. Already, this company receives very prompt payment for all the shoddy and shady things they do. If you read the Auditor General's report, they are using staff of the National Ambulance Service. They don't even have adequate staff. This is a company that is engaged in over-invoicing, according to the Auditor General. Indeed, when they were engaged, they were not even incorporated. I've never seen anything so horrendous. And as we speak, between 2020 and 2023, this company has been paid 115 million Ghana cedis. So the $34.9 million, out of which $10 million was paid on the 23rd of February this year, is a new deal. So this $34.9 million, you need to add it to the 115 million Ghana cedis this company has already received. And this is a company that, according to the Auditor General, should have been blacklisted. This is a company that should not have been engaged at all. And management, the National Ambulance Service, accepted all the recommendations.
And we went through that very copiously, that 2022 Auditor General's report. Let me ask you, just before you came on, you had your colleague, Doma East MP, say you must call the individuals involved and apologize to them because you got some of the facts wrong here. Are you willing to do that?
Which fact? He should have pointed out which fact I got wrong.
He claimed that you had said that monies have been paid to them and that only $10 million have been paid.
That's exactly what I said. He should go and read my write-up. He should listen to my interview on the Super Morning Show this morning. I said that, and that is why have I rushed to the OSP? I'm trying to save Ghana. $10 million out of the $34.9 million has been paid. But in the next few days, if we all do not rise up and fight this, $24.9 million will be paid. That's what I'm saying. I've been consistent. I'm speaking to the documents. Look, that intervention was really needless. I don't know what my good friend, the Honorable and Prechum, is talking about. I will advise him to rather take his time. He can call me if he doesn't understand the issues. I'll explain it to him. He should not be rushing to speak to matters that he knows next to nothing about. We want to protect the public purse. We want to save this country. The Auditor General has put out damning findings which confirm the fears we have. The Minister for Finance, who was leaving office, should just have left quietly. He had no business approving this $34.9 million transaction. I mean, how on earth will we be spending $113,000 on each ambulance for spare parts when that $113,000 can get us new, fully equipped, modern ambulances? I mean, what's going on here?
Mr. Okuja-Blaka, thank you very much. And the MP in question who had raised these matters with journalists in Parliament is Paul Chum Berima, is the MP for Doma East. And I want to quickly bring in Adam Senano, who is the anti-corruption campaigner. They're taking keen interest in this particular matter. Mr. Senano, what do you want to see on this particular matter? The OSP petition has been filed. Is that enough?
Well, yes, that's a good start. The tale itself is just so unbelievable. One begins to wonder whether any of our systems are working, because I'm wondering how they could proceed to make these payments without having checked all the boxes. I mean, a company that's 4 months old does not meet the public procurement process in terms of single sourcing. How this could happen is just unbelievable. So let's see what the OSP will find, because you need to do some preliminary work to understand who was involved, how do we manage to make this payment, and then we can draw substantive conclusions. And if people must be prosecuted, we should make sure they are prosecuted.
I'm grateful. That's Edemson Anu, the anti-corruption campaigner on this particular matter. Share your thoughts with us, 055-1111-997. And the calls are intensifying now for the arrest and prosecution of two suspended individuals described as the key architects of the Norwegian Imposter Paralympics team visa scandal.
According to a statement from the Ministry of National Security addressed to the Ministries of Youth and Sport and Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, one para-athlete, Nana Entry, has been detained by the Norwegian authorities, while the coach of the team, George Jimfijesi, met his untimely death shortly after being admitted to the Oslo University Hospital following his collapse on 28 April 2024. Well, according to Samson Dean, president of the National Paralympics Committee, his signature was forged to obtain visas for persons who were not members of the Ghana National Paralympics team, ostensibly to represent the country at the marathon in Oslo, Norway. So that's the story so far. We'll get to hear more on this, but first, my colleague Maxwell Agbagba has been to the Secretariat of the National Paralympics Committee. Here's his report.
Here at the offices of the National Paralympics Committee, not much of activity is happening here. We met a lady here who works with the administration unit who said she cannot speak to the issues in the media and that we should speak to her superiors on Tuesday when we come here because she has not been given clearance to speak to the issue. So she's the only one in the office. We did not meet any of the para-athletes also here. We were told by some of the people we've been speaking to that they usually converge at the Accra Sports Stadium where they regularly hold their training sessions, especially when it's getting closer to a tournament. Some of them who we've been speaking to on condition of anonymity say they are scandalized by what has happened and they think that it will affect their chances of any future travel for any tournament. I've been speaking to the National Paralympics Committee, the president of that committee, Samson Dean, and he says that two people who all work within the disability sports area are the principal architects of this act. He wants them arrested and prosecuted. Reporting for Joy News, Maxwell Agbagba.
That's what Maxwell Agbagba found when he went to the Secretariat of the National Paralympics Committee. Well, we can hear from President of the National Paralympic Committee, Samson Dean, saying that his signature was forged by two people he says are associated with the para-athletes.
We engaged, we checked, and then we realized that the letter was written, forged. They forged my signature, forged my letter, and applied for a visa for some people who are not athletes.
Who are they, the they you refer to?
Theodore Mauli Viwoto, who is the former Secretary General of the Ghana Amputee Football Association, and Ernest Eisi, who is the founder of NST Foundation. Upon reaching out to them, we asked them how they got my signature and how they got my letter. They indicated one of the persons who are listed in the letters that I have forwarded to you, called Adongo, is the one who found my letter, forged all the signature. And for that matter, these two officers who have one way or the other their associations in development of disability sport has since yesterday been suspended from any activity which is a Paralympic or disability sports in the country for now.
You know, we've also been speaking to some original members of the National Paralympics team and expressed the frustration and the teams and the disappointment about the incident. They emphasized that this has caused irreparable damage to the team's reputation and a potential negative impact on future opportunities for legitimate athletes.
For up-and-coming para-athletes like myself, it becomes a bit worrying because, you know, you feel you want to grow your career and then see yourself out there. And then you hear some of these things and you know obviously it's going to affect you and then your future dealings going forward. So obviously it was a bit worrying. Yes, I believe if that happens, it would just make other people stay away from that, and especially when it comes to matters of people with impairments like myself who are engaging in sport. I mean, it becomes a bit worrying when we hear some of this news. So if they are brought to book, I believe it will send the right this thing across.
We do sacrifice a lot for the nation, and we being paid with this negative comments. My family too are very, very, very sad hearing all this while we know I'm at home and with this fake news circulating all around the world. Yeah, we are very disappointed with what they did. Very, very disappointed. Both my family, friends, and everybody was disappointed that the actual team is preparing for the game and they've not yet been called together. But somebody at one place together so that the Paralympic team are going to Norway, because we don't have any competition in Norway, because the qualification has already been done and the athlete has been selected who has qualified for the games. They need to be punished for doing that. The people who forged the president's signature and apply for the visa for people that are not part of the disability group or the MPC, they need to be punished for doing that.
We've also been hearing today from the former ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee in Parliament, Samuel Kudeta Blakwa, who has been detailing how previous similar incidents in Ghana involving individuals traveling abroad and visa fraud is now having an impact on bearers of diplomatic passports.
We have suffered considerable reputational damage. It's going to take a lot of effort to undo this damage. Remember that not too long ago, we had the Australian visa scandal, quite similar. We haven't fully recovered from that. And all the monitoring we did at the level of the Foreign Affairs Committee, it was clear that the Australians then tightened their visa requirements. We now have a situation where even diplomatic passport holders are no longer extended certain courtesies across various embassies. Because apart from Australia, there has been the case of Reverend Victor Kusi-Boateng, who was issued a diplomatic passport in another name, Kwabena Edu-Gyamfi. And so there are members of parliament now who are reaching out to me that, look, we have put in an application with our diplomatic passport. It's taken us years. Previously, you were extended courtesies. You are allowed to jump the queue so that, whatever you are going to do, you can, get done with it quickly and return to your parliamentary duties. All of those privileges are gone. Then this comes to add to the mix. So you can imagine if even diplomatic passport holders, members of parliament, are now facing these bottlenecks. You can imagine what ordinary passport holders will face. The scrutiny is going to get even worse. When you arrive, you manage somehow to be considered, and you arrive. Your treatment at the airports, the surveillance, and already in Europe, the latest reports we have is that the cocaine menace is back, and there have been a number of cocaine arrests, and the European authorities have been in total bewilderment how our security at KIA could not arrest these smugglers, and it had to take them, the latest one being the Belgian authority.
But my colleague Nathaniel Atto has been following this very closely and joins me with the latest developments on this. And now there's been a bit of a back and forth on this particular matter. And you spoke to the National Paralympic Committee boss over the weekend. What more are we learning tonight?
Well, thank you, Evans. What it now requires is that immediately the Criminal Investigations Department has to crack their whip and set themselves into motion. This is because when you take a look at all of the facts of the case, that has been brought to the fore now, there are many elements, okay? There is an element of alleged forgery. Now, there is possible, and of course, obviously because we live in a very legal environment and we are guarded by laws, you quickly want to refer to the Criminal Offences Act, specifically Section 18 and Section 16, which gives a certain understanding of fraud. Also, there is a possibility that there is a certain level of conspiracy and there's a certain level of abetment as well. So there are many elements that need to be defined fully based on investigations that are expected to be conducted by the Criminal Investigations Department.
Even more so, Nat, when we've heard from the Samson Dean, the National Paralympic Committee president, who says he's reported this to the police formally.
Very well, very well. And, Evans, this also, like has been said by previous contributors to this matter, I've been monitoring. There is an even bigger problem or an even bigger worry for a nation that is trying its best to put the, sport at a certain level in terms of our competition and in terms of our relevance and in terms of our national pride. Now, we are coming on the back of a successfully organized African Games competition. We're coming on the back of organizing the very first African Paralympic Games in the world's history. And now these little incidents that happen, which eventually blossom or eventually metamorphose into big issues, then come to mar the beauty of all the hard work that has been done. I am reliably informed that the National Paralympic Committee President, Samson Dean, who also happens to be the president of the African Paralympic Committee, has done a lot of advocacy, has done a lot of making a case for Africa, and there's some good news that is supposed to come regarding collaborations between the city of Accra and other cities when it comes to organizing highly recognized Paralympic events. And this matter has to be investigated properly. All the culprits have to be dealt with in accordance with our laws, and it has to be put behind us so that we can enjoy the full benefits of these collaborations and all the prospects that we have as a nation that has successfully organized the very first edition of the African Paralympic Games.
Now, thank you very much. And I want to hear from you, 055-1111-997 on this story as it unfolds. And George Affe is here with the latest from the world of business. Hello, George.
Hi, Evans. And coming up in business, fresh set of policy measures aimed at growing small businesses expected to be a major focus area in mid-year budget review expected to be presented tomorrow. And economist Dr. Ishmael Yamson raises concerns about government high level of short-term borrowing and impact on debt repayment. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, Synthesis Tanks, and Pepsodent Herbal and Charcoal. Welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam is expected to roll out some fresh measures aimed at growing small businesses in the country. Now, this was captured in the statement issued by the Finance Ministry at the mid-year budget presentation tomorrow. There is more in this report.
The Finance Ministry in a statement added that the mid-year review of the 2024 budget will also highlight budget implementation for the rest of the year and the possible review of proposed policy aimed at growing the economy. It will also look at status of implementing some key government programs and revenue measures. The Finance Minister, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, will also update Parliament on some extra expenditure control measures, as well as financing adjustment based on the half-year performance. Government will also use the presentation to update the public on the status of the IMF program and progress of its implementation. The Finance Minister, Dr. Amin Adam, is doing this presentation because the country's Financial Management Act requires the minister to update Parliament not later than July ending of each on the progress of the 2024 budget that was presented in November 2023.
And that is a business desk report. Now, meanwhile, the Association of Ghana Industries is pushing for policies that would help grow businesses for the next 5 months of this year. Dr. Humphrey Yimdaka is president of the Association of Ghana Industries.
The policy should be consistent with the general developmental agenda, which might be a number of years ahead, 5-10 years. But if that policy consistency could run that period of the developmental agenda, then that particular product line or sector will see a significant change. I bring this up because currently we are where the GIPC seeks to review a number of its laws. And looking through the number of reforms or amendments they've tabled to Parliament, it runs counter to some of the intentions of the current government. And therefore, that should be looked at before the next government takes up. So this is part of the policy consistency. I will also seek to see the IMF document indicated the structural reforms advancing. It does suggest that the structural reforms are not considerably at the speed that we need to bring about this change and transformation.
Dr. Humphrey Yimdake is president of the Association of Ghana Industries. Our economist Dr. Ishmael Yamson is raising concerns about government's high level of borrowing on the short-term market through the treasury bills. Now, this is coming at a time that government over the last 2 weeks missed out on its targets. Not just last week, it was able to raise its raisement or funds raised was 1.44 billion Ghana cedis short. Dr. Yamson is worried about the impact of this on the country's debt repayments and commitment to these investors on the local market.
Meanwhile, the doors to the euro market hasn't opened yet. So the only access to government today, that's why, and I'm sure you know about it, that every week they have to go and borrow money.
T-bills,
T-bills, short term. And we knew from the days I was a student in economics to today that you don't borrow short term and to go and build a road. You don't. So why are you getting the money for it? And then you turn around and tell me, oh, but by the way, the economy is doing better. With what money? So you are borrowing money short term
to meet with current expenditure, salaries, and all those things.
But you tell me, our salaries have begun to delay. Our salary payments have begun to delay.
When was that? The last month, 2 months ago, 3 months ago.
And those are signals that we had in the 70s, in the 80s. And I keep saying to myself, if what I thought 20 years ago was never going to happen again, and I'm beginning to hear the same things today, then I get.
Dr. Ishmael Yamson is an economist. Now, president of the African Export and Import Bank, Professor Bernard Orama, is urging Ghana and other African leaders to negotiate for better conditions when negotiating with the International Monetary Fund. He insisted that African countries must benefit from their membership status of the IMF and demand for better treatment. He was speaking at the launch of the African Alliance Multilateral Institutions in Accra.
They must go and get their rights from the IMF. The only problem we have is that when they go, they must make sure that the way they treat them is the same way they treat an European country when they go to ask, just like Greece, the way they treat Asian countries. That's the only thing I think African countries should demand.
Professor Benedict Orama is the president of the Africa Export and Import Bank. And that's all for business on Newsnight.
Thank you very much, George. Ms. Bao is here with sports. Hello, Ms. Bao.
Yeah, hello, Evans. Let's start from the camp of the Black Princesses, and they will be participating in the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup in Colombia. It will be the 7th time they will be making an appearance in that competition, and in all of these instances, they have failed to advance beyond the group stage. Now, their head coach, Yusuf Bazigi, has been engaging the press ahead of the competition next month, and he says the team's target remains to make it to the knockout phase.
We are motivated to go again and make a mark because we are all looking forward to breaking that jinx. So we've made the girls aware, just as we, the technical staff, are also aware. So we don't need anybody to task us to do that job. We know how difficult it is. It's not by saying, but it's a very Herculean task. But we'll do all that we can to go beyond the group stage before we think of any other thing.
The Black Princess have been put in Group E alongside Austria, New Zealand and Japan. Now, following that visa scandal that the fake Paralympic team was engaged in, the Sports Ministry, in a statement they released earlier today, rose to the defense of Ghanaian athletes, where they insisted that the misconduct does not reflect the dedication and integrity of the entire sports fraternity. And they've promised that they will dig into this and ensure that all the guilty parties are brought to book. Evans, that's it for sports.
It's time now for our Thirsty Community series, and tonight we're putting the spotlight on 4 communities in the northern region where women must bring their own water to the CHIPS compound before they can give birth. The growing demand for water in the Tamale metropolis, that's Sanorigu, and nearby areas has led to severe shortages. According to UNICEF, 76% of households in Ghana risk consuming contaminated water, with the northern region being hit especially hard. My colleague Martina Bugri has today's Thirsty Community series.
Water plays a critical role in every health center. Every step of the way, water is needed, but the 4 CHIPS compound has no water source to help in providing service. The 4 CHIPS compound offers delivery, but one challenge that faces the facility is water crisis. Nurses sometimes have to travel into the community to look for water or buy from their own packers to work.
And at times to get water is a bit difficult for them. And also the nurses do go around and then fetch water to the compound, and they even sometimes buy pure water sachets to the facility.
We are joining some women in the 4 community to get to understand some of the challenges they went through during childbirth at the facility because of lack of water. That's These 2 women, Ibrahim Rashida and Sweba, said it is during the raining season they have water, but during the dry season they have to buy from water vendors or travel several kilometers in search of water.
Until recently, when the rain set in that we have water, when I went to give birth, I had to buy water and send to the facility. We buy a gallon of water for either 2 cedis or 3 cedis, which is too expensive for us.
In this community is water. Until the rain set in, we don't get water. We had to engage tricycle operators to fetch for us, and that is very expensive. The immediate past assemblyman for the full electoral area, Abudu Abdullah, described the water situation in his community as damning.
The issue of water crisis in our community is very damning. The community was having a public pipe, which we depend on. And then it came to a point, this pipe is not flowing, this pipe is not working again.
Well, let's bring in Martina Bugri to paint a broader picture about the situation for us. Martina, so how dire is the situation when it comes to water supply?
Now, for the 4 community, for the past 2 months, they haven't had water. But other adjoining communities, some have gone 4 months, some have gone 5 months without water flowing through their pipes. So the major source of water for the 4 community as we speak now is the dam. So these women would have to rely on the dam for house chores and any other activity they want to use water for. But because when it comes to delivery, you need clean and potable water, they would have to buy from these vendors to be able to get the service at the CHIPS compound. And so for water situation in the northern region, it is critical. A lot of homes do not get water and have to rely on hand-dug wells, ponds, and dams to survive.
That's my colleague Martina Bugu. We're hoping to get some more answers from authorities in that regard. So, because it's worrying that if you're going to give birth, you have to take your own water before you can do that. That's concerning. But let's turn our attention to education now.
And sounds of National Council members of the Ghana National Association of Teachers not preventing Deputy Education Minister Professor Kingsley Nyako from delivering a speech as they demand full distribution of laptops to the over 50,000 teachers across the country.
Well, in utter discontent over failed promises by the government, the National Council of the Ghana National Association of Teachers also staged a walkout of the meeting with the Deputy Minister for Education. Well, my colleague Emmanuel Bright-Kweku was at the opening ceremony of the annual National Council meeting of teachers, which was consequently disrupted, and filed this report.
Some teachers and members of the National Council of the Ghana National Association of Teachers booing the Deputy Minister for Education, Professor Kingsley Nyako, at their annual National Council meeting in Kumasi. They prevented the Deputy Minister from delivering a speech on behalf of the government as the council prepared to open their week-long annual meeting. District Chairman of NAT, Efija Kwabre, Safo Sapon, is spokesperson for the group.
Over 2.5 years now, some of our members have not received their laptop. As a result, the 3 teacher unions declared a strike on it, among other pertinent issues. The National Labour Commission, NLC, serving as a mediator, gave government June ending to honor its part of the contract by supplying the outstanding. Today, 22nd July 2024, there are still over 50,000 laptops left to be supplied, mainly some teachers at the KG, education officers, and the Arabic teachers, and some of the primary school teachers too. The NAT District Chairman of the National Council, which is the second highest decision-making body, has staged a walkout of the statutory National Council meeting in protest against the outstanding laptop against the national leadership and government.
NAT and 2 other teacher unions in March this year embarked on a nationwide strike to demand better service conditions. According to the teachers, the absence of these laptops is adversely impacting teaching and learning, especially in remote areas. Some of the local leaders have suffered near attacks from their members.
I was attacked by my teachers because I'm the one they voted for and I'm the one they know as their chairman. They even attack your personality. The shocking aspect is that the Vice President is preaching digitalization. What is digitalization without laptops for teachers?
Wherever the laptops are, we need them immediately to enable us to do our work well. Otherwise, we will be doing shabby work in the classroom.
The group has given the government a 1-week ultimatum to commence processes of distributing the outstanding consignment of laptops. For Joy News, my name is Emmanuel Bright-Kweku.
And you can catch the full report and more, plus reactions on this particular story on Joy News Prime. It will be on the Joy News channel at 7 p.m. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I was going to say living word. This up next.
Because of midday, huh?
Yes.
Anyway, you really want to stay with us because right after we left, we'll be joined by Nanan Sakwao, who has a very interesting topic in the sector by sector, episode 2.
Well,
I don't know what that is.
I'd like to wait for that. We're live from London tonight? Okay, you want to stay. I am MFR Power.
My name is Evan Spencer.